I am Katie Wells. I've been a carer for 11 years with Life Without Barriers. So our family first became carers 21 years ago. Currently, our family provide short-term and emergency care, and we have one child who is in a primary long-term placement. So yeah, over the years we have provided just a whole range of care from short-term emergency. We're currently respite carers as well for two separate families. Respite care is where a carer comes on board and provides support for other primary carers within Life Without Barriers. So that might look like providing just care for one weekend a month, or in some situations it might be alternate weekends depending on the needs of that primary caring family. And it also looks like providing care for a child during the holidays, so maybe for a week or a couple of weeks in the holidays. Once you've established a good relationship with that child sort of over weekends, you can extend that respite care to support a primary caring family. I think respite care is a really good place for somebody to start the caring journey. Definitely, once you've been through the process and become a carer, you can choose any of the different types of care that you are possibly able to provide, but respite care is a great way to start. It really gives you just a good feel of what it looks like having a child in your home. If you have biological children, how they're going to, respond to that sort of initially really unique situation of caring for another child. The process to become foster carers with Life Without Barriers is quite lengthy, and some people might balk at that, but I think it's so important to go really slowly through the process of becoming a carer. They'll call you or email you, and from there you have a conversation with them, just a basic sort of general inquiry. Oh, what does foster care look like? How long will it take us to become approved, or what would I do next? And generally the next thing, after you have a conversation with somebody on the phone and you're happy to proceed, you'll have somebody come and meet you at your home. It's important that your home is, a safe and comfortable environment. It's important that you have a spare bedroom. The kids that Life Without Barriers provide care for need to have, their own space. There is some training involved, obviously, that some people will come into the foster care space and they'll know a lot about what a child requires, a child that comes from a trauma background, and you might already know like what specific things these kids need. But we need to make sure that Life Without Barriers carers have a really good understanding of lots of different facets of care. So the training that they undertake is 8 modules of training, and that will cover all sorts of things, from the reason why children come into care in the first place, what sorts of behaviours you might need to have skills to help that child cope. We talk about the grief and loss for that child. We talk about the parents, the biological parents of that child, the grief and loss that they go through. And we talk about Life Without Barriers principles that they have, and how important it is for carers to align with the principles that Life Without Barriers holds fast to ensure that the care that we provide for that child is the best care that we can give them. So to become a carer, when we initially undertook that process, looked quite different because it was 21 years ago. The length of time it takes to become a carer really varies from family to family, from individual to individual. So I think from start to finish, it took our family just under 12 months, and we chose to take things quite slowly. So we had our initial conversation with somebody. They came out to visit our home just to see if there were any modifications that needed to be made in our home. They met our biological children, and that's really an important stage as well, to make sure that you're undertaking becoming a foster carer as a family. And then undertook the training, and then the interview process or the assessment process is quite involved, but in that space you get to know part of the Life Without Barriers team that will support you, and there are a few different stages of support that you get as you embark on the journey to become a carer. And those conversations can take a long time, but that's important as well, to just make sure that the fit is right for you and Life Without Barriers as well. It's a team that will support you on the journey. So the initial phone conversation might be somebody that you will or will not meet again, and the person that comes out to your home to sort of have a look around and meet you and the family and the pets, that might be a different person again, and that can be daunting for some people. But ultimately you will meet part of the Life Without Barriers team that will provide support for you through the journey as a child is placed with you and you deal with all the things that come after that? I would say there is a lot of preparation that can be done during the conversations that you have with the assessor from Life Without Barriers. You do unpack a lot of things like your long-term relationships and how stable and steady they are in order to provide great care for a child. You need to be able to form and be able to manage steady relationships. We talk about how much support you have in your community and within your immediate and extended family, because support networks are such a key important part of being able to provide care for a child, because you need that support as well. That's part of your, looking after yourself, is having people around you that love what you're doing and support what you're doing and want to be a part of that child's journey as well. So the assessment process does prepare you. The training prepares you. Meeting and getting to know the Life Without Barriers team also, is part of the journey and sets you up really well. But one of the most important things is to keep going to the training. Some of it you'll find is compulsory, and that's just to make sure that you know how the space is changing and evolving and how important it is for Life Without Barriers teams to know what's happening in child's lives and how we can support them and how they can support you. There's good preparation before you become a carer, but there's fantastic continuation of learning and being involved in the Life Without Barriers team. Definitely got to meet other carers along the way. So during the training, we had a carer that was present, and it was really valuable to have somebody there to just ask, okay, so this is the systemic stuff and this is how the organisation works, but what's it really like? What does it really feel like when you've taken your first placement and someone knocks on a door and literally brings a child to your home? It's good to be able to talk to other carers about, what did it look like for them? How did their children react to that? Did they always know where to go when something happened? Did they know who to call? Did they know how to respond to that child when they displayed this behaviour or that need or that want? So really good to have other carers on board. I definitely remember what it was like to be approved as a carer. We were happy to take the journey quite slowly. We had biological children already. We wanted to make sure they were prepared. But when that first phone call came, it really actually was a rainy night in the middle of winter, and it was after 5 o'clock. So I knew that the team that were coming to place this first child with us had been working really hard all day at the jobs that they do. And I'll never forget, becoming a carer and then also receiving our first placement not very long afterwards. One is definitely you don't have to be married. You can be single. You don't have to have a partner necessarily. You can be in a same-sex relationship. You can be single, have children, have no children. Lots of different ways for you to embark on that journey. 21 years ago, I realised that we as a family were able to give back in some way to the community to support vulnerable families and vulnerable children. And that's how we became carers. We need more foster carers. We are always looking for families, that have a heart for caring for children. There are lots of kids that desperately need. Sometimes it's just really short-term care. They just need some respite from a stressful or difficult situation. We need carers for children of all age ranges from birth all the way up to 18. And there are some specific higher needs for certain ages of kids that are coming into care. So it's particularly difficult sometimes to place kids from about the ages of maybe 12 to 18. I think some people feel like there are obstacles to caring for these kids. But if you have the right skills and if you're always developing tools and attending training and getting the support that you need from Life Without Barriers, it is possible to alleviate so much stress in these kids and just care for them and nurture them and help change their lives. We've definitely cared for children from birth where it's determined that it is not safe for them to go home with biological family at that stage, and all the way up to 18. I think every age from birth up until 18, and sibling groups from all the way up to 5 children from one family, and that can be a common thing for children who need out-of-home care. A sibling group is sometimes difficult to place, but if we can find the right carers for these kids, it's so beneficial for them to stay together as a sibling group. When we first started caring, we always made sure that everyone in the household knew what was happening. So generally I would take the phone call, being the primary carer, Greg being at work and me being at home. I would take the phone call and just get the briefest amount of information from whoever was able to provide that. So generally it's the the age of the child and the gender of the child, whether they attend school, any sort of medical needs that they might have, or, any disabilities they might have, special needs. So I would take that phone call, and then, I would call Greg first, and I would say, I have a phone call about a placement. How are you feeling about that? And if we had other children that we were providing care for in the home, that would obviously be a consideration as well. How long, does this child need care for? Is it just for the weekend? We can accommodate that. We can make sure that everyone feels quite settled about there being somebody else coming into the home for the weekend. If that placement is required for longer, then it would be a different conversation. How long do you think this child needs care for, and what are their specific needs? And can we provide that? Do we have the resources to make sure that everybody is feeling, safe and comfortable, and that we can manage everything we need to manage? You can definitely change the type of care that you provide. You can open your homes if you have the time and the resources to provide short-term and emergency care, and that might look like anything from, a week to 3 months. And then from there, as you sort of grow and change as a carer and become more confident and more assured that you are able to provide that sort of care, then primary care is much longer term, with lots of support from the agency around that. I love the relationships that I build with Tassie Life Without Barriers team. They are amazing, but I feel like my journey over the last years with Life Without Barriers it feels like a family to me. I can pick up the phone and I can just say, hey, I was just wondering, this child has an appointment coming up. Do you want to come to that appointment with me, or are you busy then? When was the last time you came over to have a chat about, this placement, or where we're sitting in the types of care that we can provide? Like maybe we're thinking, we're only doing respite care at the moment, but we'd really like to start doing emergency short-term care. So come over and we'll sit down and have a chat about that. So my favourite moments actually have been building relationships with the staff at Life Without Barriers. Also, obviously, like the children that you meet, like how much your life changes when kids come into your care. It's like you never know what's going to happen next. And you can prepare yourself, and all the training and chatting to another carer who might be available, chatting to staff at Life Without Barriers, it does prepare you, but you still don't know who's going to need your care next. And just meeting the beautiful little humans that come through our home, I can't count how many kids that we've actually cared for over the time, but it's definitely over 120. I think it's probably more than that, but it is wonderful. And there are challenges, but to me, and I know to the rest of our family, all of our biological children have now had more of their lives being part of a foster caring family, and I know that it's changed them. I know that it's helped grow the people that they are, and it makes me proud that our kids have empathy and they have an understanding, and they can see the need in their own community and how important it is to be able to provide care for these kids. When you go through the process of becoming a carer at Life Without Barriers, you will get lots of information, and it's sometimes difficult to take it all on board. There's lots to learn, and that's why sometimes I think it's a good idea just to take it, in quite a steady pace, always being transparent with the other people that live in your home and are in your family, talking about what challenges do you think you might face. But there definitely are, and I think a lot of that really centres around the children themselves. If you have a safe, stable home, whether you've brought kids up or not, having a good understanding around just being able to listen quietly and listen intently to what a child's going through. They might not share a lot with you straight away, but as you form relationships with the children that come into your care, they will open up to you and they will tell you things about their lives. They have families and they have an experience before they've come into care, obviously, and a lot of that is hard to hear. And we have had kids who struggle to get to sleep at night, who are still wetting their beds when they're 10, who have food hoarding issues. There are lots of different issues. They can be angry, they can feel insecure, they can feel tense and anxious and scared, and they're all difficult things to deal with. But I think the most important thing is that the focus is not on you. If you need advice, if you need support or counsel around how to help that child overcome their struggles, then you just need to reach out to Life Without Barriers, and that's their job, is to help you build up that toolkit and that skill set to be able to provide care for the child. So I have found that's one of the most distressing things, is hearing about children's past. It's also really difficult when a child comes into your care and you you might think that it's going to be for a short time. So in your head, you're thinking, okay, I've got my parameters of care set around 2 weeks, and then you discover that child needs a longer placement. Not all of the answers can be found in a really short space of time. So even though somebody might suggest that the child needs care for this amount of time, it might be longer. And then you kind of thrown a bit of a curveball. Can we provide care for longer? We don't want that child to go to another placement and to have to be unsettled and to have to navigate a new family and a new household. You want to be able to provide care for that child for longer. And sometimes it works in the opposite way. Sometimes you might take a phone call and somebody will say, look, we've got, a 6-year-old. We're pretty sure he needs care for a 3-month period. That might be the order that the courts have determined, while all the discovering is made around who else can support that child and what sort of care he might need. And then it's not 3 months. It's a year. It extends to a 12-month order, or it's less. So just navigating the uncertainty around care for a child, can be difficult. And loss for a carer is as much a part of the journey as grief and loss for a child regarding, their parents, their siblings, their old schools. There's lots of grief and loss around those issues, but also for a carer. The training, it's not just necessary if you want to be the right kind of carer and the carer that these children need to be able to overcome issues in their lives and obstacles in their lives. The training around trauma is absolutely essential. So just learning about how a child's brain is wired when they're dealing with high stress constantly and critical incidences. It's so important to understand how their brains work and what initial reaction they might jump to. It could be a loud noise. It could be a song they hear on the radio. It could just be one sentence that you say to them. That might just send them into absolute panic, high anxiety, stress. Having a good understanding of how children who have trauma or who are affected by trauma, being able to help them navigate their way through those difficult times is really important. There's always someone there to support from Life Without Barriers. The training is constantly evolving. That's why it's so important to stay on the cutting edge. That's the best way to navigate the issues that these little kids come into our homes with. So the role of foster care ambassador in Tasmania with Life Without Barriers is such a privilege. I'll just say that first because I absolutely love my role as foster care ambassador. Being a carer and having quite a long experience of being a foster carer has obviously helped that enormously. So understanding the need for foster carers in Tassie made me motivated and made me want to understand more about, what makes a good carer? How can we find people with that passion and with that commitment? How can Life Without Barriers find those sorts of carers? And the role of the ambassador is to try and find those people and bring them into at least a conversation about what it's like to be a carer. And I support the Community Engagement Officer on her quest to get the Life Without Barriers name out there. And together we really try and look at what the need is for Life Without Barriers in Tassie, as far as how many children are coming into care and what ages are they and what specific needs do they have, and do we have carers that we can match really, appropriately and really properly and successfully. I've been a carer ambassador for 5 years. I wanted to be a foster care ambassador because I think, firstly, just because of the good experience that we've had with Life Without Barriers. So we have fostered, for over 20 years and for, I think, 9 or 10 years with Life Without Barriers. And when I got to know the organisation and understood what their values were and just found that I was very much aligned with those values. When I heard about the foster care ambassador role in Tassie, I just felt drawn to being able to find out, why is there a lack of carers? We always need more carers, and the role of the ambassador, I was drawn to it because I want to be able to find really good carers for foster kids in Tassie. Yeah, definitely, I do. I go to events. Actually, AgFest, which we have in Tassie, is one of our, key events that we attend, and it's run over 3 days, and thousands of people come through AgFest. And it's such a great opportunity to just set up our big marquee and have our big, beautiful Life Without Barriers banners up, and it's really all about the conversations. It's about not drawing people in necessarily, but we do have have lots of people that want to come through our marquee, and they want to come and have a chat to us about, what are we doing there and what are we representing. And it's great to talk to people who say to me, foster care, I've always thought about that. My auntie used to foster, or, our next door neighbours always seem to have, kids sort of, coming and going. We realised later on that they were foster carers. And it's so easy to strike up a conversation with somebody about the caring role and what it's meant to us and what it's meant to our children, and how, it's just changed our family. So, I love talking to people about being a carer, and I love it when people are really interested in becoming a carer themselves. Yeah, definitely. I think I've probably been at Life Without Barriers for almost as long as some of the longer serving staff members on our team. Have formed really good relationships with everyone at Life Without Barriers. And I think that continuity of relationship through the journey, from the initial stages of home visits and home safety checks, if you can maintain those relationships, it's a great part of the journey. Very supportive. It's really good when you start having a conversation with somebody about foster care, and that's so easy. Like, it happens at school, it happens at sports, it happens in cafes, like wherever I am, I always seem to be able to strike up a conversation with somebody about being a carer. And when you can see that little spark in their eye and they just want to know more, like some people just go, oh yeah, great, like that's an awesome thing that you're doing, really cool. But then other people go, oh, what's foster care like how many kids have you fostered? What ages do you foster? How did you fall into that? Why did you think it would be a good fit for your family? How long have you fostered for? I love it when they're keen and they want to know more about the journey. There are certainly really valid reasons why people think, I'm not going down that road. And they can look like, I don't know how you give children back. And to me, that's, you're not really giving them back. It's not a decision that you can make about how long a child spends in care. Somebody else has all of that information, and as carers, we don't have a lot of that information. So as far as giving a child back, it's you caring for them to the best of your ability with lots of support, giving them a safe space and showing them what it looks like to have a home where there are not those incidences that cause them stress and anxiety and may put them at risk of harm. So I think that the best thing about foster care for us is when a child does get to go home. That is absolutely pivotal. And that's why our family actually started foster caring, because we wanted to be a part of how can we help in the situation where, if it's best for a child to be with their families and to live with their birth families, that's what we wanted to be a part of. And some of the most rewarding things that we've ever been a part of on our journey as foster carers is when we see children, going home and living where they're meant to live, and we're just a stepping stone along the way. And if children stay in care, then you deal with that at the time, and if they go home, it's an incredible honour to be a part of that transition process where a child gets to go home.